Okay, so those of you who watch this channel on a regular basis, which I'm not entirely sure why you do unless you think I have a lovely voice, you're going to notice this looks very familiar. I've taken you on this path a gazillion times so far. I was actually going to go north today. That was my whole plan, but then literally just like 5 minutes ago, I was having a conversation with somebody and we were talking about riding in downtown Denver. And I said, you know what? I went north yesterday. I'm going to go south today. I don't know if I'll go through the streets of Denver, only because it is Wednesday. And there's a lot of traffic issues going on at the moment. Oh, I heard that banging. I thought something was happening with my truck, with my bike. Like, you know, you get something stuck in the wheel and every time the tire goes around you hear a thunk, thunk, thunk. That's what I thought was happening. But I was hearing that. Yeah, apparently in the wee early morning hours, as road construction crews were finishing up for the day, somebody somehow was able to turn over some sort of pavement truck, like it fell on its side. I don't know. I'm only going by what I heard on the radio going to and from the gym this morning. And it foobarred traffic. Apparently, what was normally like a 30-minute ride for most people to get to work this morning from a certain direction, where they were being warned that it might take, upwards of 3 hours to go through that same section of highway. So a lot of people are jumping off the highway. They're taking side roads. They're taking back roads, or they're going around, what they would normally do. And therefore, a lot of traffic is screwed up right now, which is why I was planning on heading north. But, yeah, turns out I'm going to go south just because I went north yesterday and I figured, why not go south? So, yeah. You obviously saw all the people there, which again, I don't have a problem with. I saw the puppy and I felt pretty bad for the puppy, but it was a pug, I think. But yeah, yeah. I think I told you guys yesterday that I went out this past weekend and did some senior photos for a friend. Well, she texted me Monday night and said, hey, she wants a couple of photos so she can take to school today or tomorrow morning, yesterday. She wants to be able to show her friends. Apparently they're having a share your photos day or something. So I sent her a couple. I just added some minor tweaks to them, boosted some color, cleaned up some stuff here and there. Yeah, I didn't tweak them nearly as much as I tweak my own photos because, again, I like contrasty pictures. That's like my thing, my style. So I usually bump up the contrast pretty good. I also, I like color splashes. And I say that, not that I like black and white photos with everything blue in blue or everything yellow in yellow. But if I notice the photo has, like in this case, some of the photos I went through, the girl was wearing a red shirt and we were standing in a red covered bridge. So there's a lot of red going on, and then there was green in the background from all the grass and trees and stuff, and I was like, okay. But then there were hints of yellow from some sunflowers in the grass. So I boosted the hints of yellow just to kind of like make it a little bit more vibrant, so it's not just green and red. Does that make sense? So I sent them to her. She goes, oh, those are great. I'll send them to her so she can have them for school. Because again, I don't have her daughter's phone number or email address. She's 18. There's no reason I can't have her daughter's phone number or email address. It's just, I've known this girl since she was 15 or 13. And it's just weird. So I just still go through the parents whenever I need to talk to the daughter for whatever reason, which I almost never do unless they need something from me. But then I kind of got bored yesterday and I was like, all right, well, let me go through some of these photos, tweak some so they know that I'm not just sitting here ignoring them. And I went through and I tweaked a bunch of them. I think 10 or 11 photos. And these are large photos. It's 15 megapixels, which, you know, anybody with a modern iPhone or Android phone or something is going to be like, oh, 15 is not that much. It is. Especially when they're good megapixels, not small megapixels. So my DSLR will take photos that the printouts can be something like, I forget the exact dimensions because I never print anything out this big, but something's supposed to be like 16 by 24 inches. So the photos are, you know, the final result is pretty big. You know, so you can cut them down or resize them and not lose a lot of detail, which is great. And I like to take full frame photos, not full frame sensor, don't confuse that. But I met a guy once a few years ago, another veteran, Marines. He bought a camera because he wanted to do stuff that was a little, hey puppy, little photo-y. He had a job where he drove out in rural areas all day long, and he wanted to be able to take pictures of, like, you know, the farmhouses, the trees, horses, things like that. Well, his camera was much newer than mine, and it was mine's a 15 megapixel, and I think he said his was something like, you know, 32. But what he liked to do was take a photo, and then he'd look at the photo on the computer, find what looked good in that photo, and he would crop that out, which, you know, is A-okay. Oops. Excuse me, guys. And I was actually a little concerned going through there because they had people on both sides of the trail and very close to the trail. Like, you know, that would have been a perfect opportunity to jump on a walker, runner, bicyclist, etc. So I was a little cautious there. But yeah, so he liked to, you know, crop out what he wanted, while I like to use, like, I will catch it in the glass what I want. And what do I mean by that? Well, real cameras, not your phone camera, they usually have glass lenses. So I want what I see in the lens to be the final product, minus some tweaking, maybe converting it to black and white or sepia or whatever the case may be, as opposed to taking a much larger photo or a much more expansive photo and cropping out what I want. But that's just, you know, my style. That's my workflow. That's what I want. And it stems from starting with film cameras back in the 90s. Oh. Like, I'm not going as fast as I thought I would be going, so I'm going to bump it up a little bit. Now I'm going faster than I thought I'd be going. But, yeah, so I sent a few photos, and then last night about 8 o'clock or so, I sent the 10 photos. I uploaded them to the cloud, shared the folder they were in, and I said, hey, here's some of the photos. Because, you know, when you do a photo shoot, especially if you're moving, you know, working with moving or living objects, you know, there's always photos that are out of focus or movement or something. There's always something. So that's why you see photographers, it looks like they just hold that shutter button down. They just catch everything they can and hope out of the 100 photos they took, they can get 1 or 2 photos of value. So that's what I was doing yesterday. And I edited some just to kind of play with it, because I don't do a lot of portraiture work. Well, I uploaded like 10, 11 photos to this album, shared it with her, and she responds last night. I was asleep, but I get the email this morning. She's like, oh, those are fine and all, but I don't like the way you edited them. I'll send them to her and see if she likes them, but we want it done like this. And I'm like, okay. First of all, you didn't offer to pay me. You only offered to pay me. I didn't say this to her, but I'm sitting there thinking it. You only offered to pay me when I brought up that the last time I did portraiture, it was for a friend of a friend, senior pictures, but it was like 10 years ago. And, you know, I offered them a very good deal of like $100 because my time does have value, believe it or not. So she's like, okay, you know, so she's like, oh, I'll give you $100. Let me get your Venmo. And I'm like, well, I don't do online banking. She's like, what do you mean? I said, well, I worked in IT long enough to know that there's no such thing as a secure system. And more importantly, you know what, we'll go up and around and go north on the other side, or south on the other side. So, well, and this one's steeper than that one, so let's see how well this motor does, because I'm still in 3. I guess it's okay. Struggling a little bit. But, we were talking, oh, there's a squirrel on the bridge. Holy, yeah, there you go, buddy. Nobody's bothering you. Is that dangerous? I mean, I guess there's trees within jumping distance, but dang. Was not expecting to see a squirrel scrounging around on the bridge. But, so she gave me $100 in cash, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, and I told her, I said, you don't have to do that. You asked me if I could do this as a favor. You guys are my friends, I'll do it as a favor. She goes, no, we'll pay you. Which is a first. It seems like sometimes, almost every time I go over to their house for something, whether it's just they call and say, hey, do you want to come over and hang out? Or we're having a barbecue, do you want to come over? Or, you know, we're having some friends over to talk about, you know, politics or whatever. Do you want to come hang out? It seems like every time, you know, she asks me to do something at her house. And that, you know, comes back to her husband, knowing that I was moving into this place up the road as a temporary solution while I looked for a place to live. Her husband offered me their spare bedrooms. It's like, yeah, you can have either one of the spare bedrooms upstairs. You get a semi-private bath because other people might use the bathroom at some point or another, especially if they have other guests visiting or whatever. And I told him, you know, kind of jokingly, but I told him, I said, nah, because one, I'm a private person and I don't need you guys in my life to that extent. Like seeing, you know, who my friends are, who I hang out with, you know, judging any women that I bring home, that kind of thing. And two, you know, not that I bring home weird women or anything, but sometimes, you know, you get what you can, not what you want. So, yeah. But she always asks me to do something, whether it's, oh, can you take the dog for a walk? And it's like, you have 3 adults that live in this house. Any one of you can take your dog for a walk. Well, yeah, but he wants to go for a walk now, and nobody here can take him for a walk for a few hours. I'm like, then you should probably get off your computer, because we both know you're not working. And, you know, take your dog for a walk. Or, you know, hey, can you do this? I'm like, why are you asking me to do this? You have 3 adult children, 2 of which one lives here and one lives barely an hour away. Like, why are you asking me to do chores at your house? He's like, oh, well, you know, our kids don't want to do stuff like that. What part of I don't belong to this household makes you think that I want to do chores around your house? Things like that. Like, I was over one day a couple years ago, and she's like, hey, have you ever put down the laminate flooring stuff? And I said, yeah, I put it down in my house when I owned my house. She goes, oh, so you know how to do it. And I knew where this was going, and I said, well, yes, I know how to do it. However, I've only done it once, and it was more than 20 years ago. She goes, but you know how to do it. I'm like, again, I have only done it once, and it was more than 20 years ago. She goes, oh, okay, so if we buy the stuff, you know, we want to redo the floor in the bathroom upstairs. Okay. So I was like, all right, they do favors for me and stuff, you know, like, you know, invite me over for dinner or whatever every once in a while. I was like, yeah, sure, I can do this. It's going to be an afternoon. And she goes, oops. Denver police on a bike trail on motorcycles. Dang. I kind of feel bad for not getting in their way. They didn't have their lights on. They weren't actively pursuing anything. They were just here. So I kind of should have expressed my civil liberties, but I didn't, because I didn't think of it, because I was more engrossed in the conversation I was having with myself and sharing with you. Regardless, I go ahead and I do this because I figure it's going to be a couple hours max. We're talking about a room that's, 4 feet by 8 feet. So most of it's going to be laying it down. There's going to be a couple of small cuts at the ends, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm doing it. I get halfway done. She comes upstairs to inspect, and she goes, "Oh, I don't like the way that you're doing it." Like, what are you talking about? She goes, "Well, there's some color variation in the wood pieces that we picked, and I want it like this." I'm like, "Well, one, you didn't tell me that up front. Two, you wait until I'm halfway done to say, like, I already have cut pieces. You can't uncut them. Are you kidding me with this?" And she's like, "Well, hey puppy, you okay?" I certainly hope that dog was with that dude in front of him. I really do. Because it's not too hot for a dog to be out running like this. It's probably barely, well, my watch says 80 degrees, but it doesn't feel like it's 80 degrees. It feels like it's 74, 75. Last couple times I went down on that trail to the left there. So we're going to go around. I believe this is the Children's Museum here. Never been here myself because I'm not a children and I don't have any children. And every woman I've ever dated that had children, we never really got to the let's hang out as a family part. But yeah, so I had to not start over, but be very careful about the cuts that I made going forward, because I had to work with already cut pieces, blah, blah, blah. And then she came back and she's like, "Well, you didn't put it up against the wall." And I'm like, "Well, when you're working with stuff like this, you don't put it up against the wall because you have to leave breathing room. Like, you literally have to leave room for it to expand and contract and, based on weather conditions." But she acted like I did them wrong by doing it to the best of my ability when I've only done it once ever in my life, and that was decades ago. She did the same thing to a friend of theirs, another friend of theirs that they'd known for 30 years. Dude's in his upper 40s. They knew this guy's parents, and they met him when he was 13 or 14 or something. But he lives in Colorado now, and apparently at one point he worked for a a tree trimming business. So they asked him if he could come over and trim a tree in their yard that had a bunch of dead branches. And they wanted the dead branches gone, which is fair, So he was over there one day telling me how they asked him to do this, and I was like, "Well, did they at least offer to pay you?" And he's like, "No, they never offer to pay." And I was like, "Oh, you mean the people in the $1 million house never offer to pay anything, even though they don't work?" The husband's a serial entrepreneur, which, good for you, dude. Apparently he was able to make some money in one of his ventures in the past, until he got sued. Now, according to him, he didn't get sued for anything that he did, so much as he found a loophole in the law. He was exploiting that loophole, and then they sued him to make him stop. Fair enough. But then he had a couple other little businesses here and there and stuff. But most of what he wants to do is non-profit, free stuff. That's his goal, is to help the world. He doesn't care about profit. He doesn't care about margins. He doesn't care about making money. He cares about making the world a better place. And I absolutely 100% respect that. Because I think we all need to have that mentality. Not have the mentality of, let's get rich and tell people we're making the world a better place when we're not. Which is what most companies do. They pay entire marketing departments to say, "Hey, shut the hippies up. Tell them that, by us drilling oil and ruining all this land and privatizing these public spaces and ruining the atmosphere and spoiling the rivers and lakes, we're actually helping the world." But he doesn't want to do that. So This guy cut the tree, and all she did was complain about him cutting the tree, about how he cut it. You know, because he trimmed back not only the dead branches, but some living branches, some healthy branches. And for months, all I heard about was how horrible it was and how they hated it. And, you know, he probably killed their tree, blah, blah, blah. Well, fast forward, come spring, tree just sprouts like mad. New branches everywhere, thick branches, healthy, you know, shrub stuff. I don't know what it's called, plumage. You know, that provides a lot of shade for the house and the yard, and blah blah blah. And they're like, oh my God, see how well it grew in? It's so wonderful. That isn't that. And I'm like, yeah, you love it now, but you spent months complaining about it because you didn't understand the process. Now, was that his fault for not explaining it very well? Possibly. But fast forward. So when she asked me to do this, I was like, okay, cool. It'll give me a chance to actually work with a human model. Because I typically, you know, sometimes I'll take the camera out and I'll do street photography, but you're not really working with models. You're just catching what you see, like what is real, what is right in front of you. What's up, teeny weeny puppy? You know, things like that. So I was like looking forward to it. And it was very fun, and, you know, I cracking jokes with the daughter a lot to kind of make her relax and, you know, just have fun with the experience rather than worrying about everything every second. Is this a good pose? Is this a good picture? You know, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, and I do. I have some great shots of her laughing and, you know, just kind of, you know, having a good time, which I love. You know, it's just so genuine. But, you know, I sent some of these pictures to her, and she started, you know, with her whole, I'm not satisfied with the free work that I got from somebody routine, which really annoys me. Like, she's very involved in local politics in her town, and everybody of a particular political persuasion on that side of town knows who she is. Because, oops, hey squirrel, knows who she is. Because she's been very involved for years. Since they moved to Colorado, she's been involved with the politics of her town. To the point where I had, you know, I agree with some of what her party does, but I also disagree with a lot of what her party does. And she thinks I'm a like-minded person, which to some extent I am. I'd say we probably agree 50-60% of the time. But we disagree on methodology. Something just flew in my mouth. Things like that. So we've had a number of conversations where I'm like, no, your political party is absolutely useless. They can't do anything. And even when they do something, they can't do it right. She's like, what do you mean? And I said, well, you know, look at this example. They passed this law. This was a great law. This law helped hundreds of millions of Americans. It added a lot of money to our economy. It helped with a lot of things going on in this country that have been neglected for decades. That's what this law was for. But your party couldn't even sell it. Couldn't even convince people who were going to make money on it that it was a good idea. That's what I mean. Your party can't do anything. You know, look what's happening right now. You know, last year at this time, MAGA supporters were out there calling everybody who did not like Donald Trump a pedophile, because pedophile was the worst thing in the world they could possibly think of. You're a pedophile, you're a pedophile, you're a pedophile. That's all they did. Oh, this opposing political person is a pedophile. Her husband's a pedophile, her son's a pedophile, his son's a pedophile. You know, everybody on this party is a pedophile. Everybody who disagrees with Donald Trump is a pedophile. Pedophile, pedophile, pedophile. And then fast forward, hey, Donald Trump won't release the Epstein files, and it's reported that he's in the Epstein files on numerous occasions. And Donald Trump's like, oh yeah, just ignore all that. You know, all that stuff that we riled you guys up about, just ignore it. So now they're ignoring it. They're literally defending his pedophilia by saying, oh, well, other people are pedophiles too. Like, other people aren't president of the United States. But what are the Democrats doing? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You don't see them forcing anything. You don't see them doing procedural moves in order to force the Republicans to do X, Y, Z. You don't see them politicking. You don't see them in front of the cameras. They're not out there giving interviews or talking to people. They're all over there just, getting their paychecks and raising their funds and saying, hey, Donald Trump's going to sink himself. And no matter how bad we are, no matter how bad Americans don't like us, think that we are useless, we're going to win because people don't like him more. It's like being Alabama and saying, well, at least we're not Mississippi. Are you kidding me? So yeah, her political party is useless. And we've had that conversation numerous times. Because I even told her she ran for office under her political party, and I even told her then. I went to one of her little speech rally things that she tried to have, to raise some money. There was like maybe 20 people there. But it was a local House office. It wasn't a national office by any stretch of the imagination. She told a story that I told her. But in her story, me, the storyteller, was a woman. And I was like, I'm not a woman. And she got the story wrong, but the elements were there. And I called her out on it after the fact. And I was like, yeah, when you told that story that I told you, I wasn't a woman in my story. And she goes, oh, was that you who told me the story? And I was like, yeah, like a week ago. She goes, oh, I must have forgot. Like, she wants everything to be perfect for her, but she doesn't give the same respect to other people. Does that make sense? Which, I've noticed slowly over the years because, I don't ask her or her husband for a lot of things. A lot of times they offer, and a lot of times I say, no, I don't need any help or anything like that, but sometimes I do. But this is another one that got me. Hey, puppy. Her son was home from college. They invited, because I'm single, I wasn't seeing anybody or didn't have any family in town. They asked me if I wanted to come over for Thanksgiving like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. And their son was home from college. I think their other son was there home from his new job in the East Coast, and their daughter was there, and they had a couple other friends there too. Because they are the we like to have guests household. That's who they are, which perfectly fine. Have a field day. I'm not that person. My home is my fortress of solitude. I'm not inviting you over. And if I am, it's only because of one reason. I either became emotionally attached to you, which is rare in and of itself. Oh. Train make noise. Train make lots of noise. Oops. And we're going to stop here in the shade and fix the phone because it apparently moving. But we'll stop right up here in the shade where we're not at risk of blocking anybody. But I was leaving. And, I had to work the next day because I worked a semi-retail job. I was a vendor for a retail company at the time, and they were open on Friday. So I was like, all right, it's like 8:30, 9 o'clock. I need to go. So I get out to my truck. Battery's dead. I think it's because I left my work computer plugged into the charger in my truck for like the 4 or 5 hours I was over there, and it drained the battery. So I go back in, and it's cold. Like, Colorado's iffy. You can have some Thanksgivings that are 65 degrees, and you can have some Thanksgivings that are 5 degrees. And it was probably 25, 30 degrees out when I was leaving. But I go, I can't get my truck started. So I go back in, I knock on the door, I go back in real quick, and I was just like, hey, can somebody come give me a jump real quick? Again, two parents and 2 adult children and another guest at this point. Most of the other people had left. So plenty of people that could give me a jump. She looks at her son, who was 20, 21 at the time, and said, hey, can you go help him? The son just doesn't even look up. He goes, no. And she tells him, she's like, go help him. And he goes, no, I don't want to. And he just sat there. Didn't even look up at me. And I was like, if it's an issue of knowing how, like, I know how to do it. I have the jumper cables. I just need a jump. And he goes, no, I don't want to. Didn't move, didn't bat an eyelash, didn't nothing. And the mom just sat there. She waited about 20 seconds and then she stood up and she goes, well, let me grab my jacket. And I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, well, I'm going to help you. And I'm like, make him. You guys are paying for his college. You guys, he's your son. Make him. Like, all you're doing is feeding into his privilege or his self-perceived privilege that he doesn't have to do anything or help anybody ever. She's like, no, I'll just come do it. It's, they're home for the holidays. They don't want to have to do, like, chores and stuff. Like, and that is why your kids are going to have a hard time in life. So she's just like that kind of person. Like, everything can be somebody else's fault unless it's her fault, and then there's always an excuse. So I'm at the point where I'm like, yeah, I think what I'm going to do is just, instead of re-editing the photos, because when you go through and you're like really re-editing photos, not just putting a filter on them, it can take quite a bit of time per photo. Now, I've had photographers tell me that they'll spend hours on each photo. They'll go through it, not quite pixel by pixel, but pretty damn close, looking for everything. And they will fix everything. Especially if it's for like a magazine spread or a poster or something like that. Where those small, minute things that you're not really noticing do show up. So I was going through and I'm like, I'm going through with the eraser and I'm removing like strands of hair that fell down on her clothes. I'm removing, dust and, pixels that didn't, you can't see it unless you zoom in like 400%. But occasionally, there's like a pixel that didn't catch the right color, or it looks like a dead pixel or an unworking pixel or whatever. But it's not always in the same place on every photo, so I don't think it's that. I think it's just, pixels that didn't take that particular photo. And I'm going through and I'm, like I said, I sharpened everything up a little bit because it looked a little too soft to me. The edges weren't quite straight enough, or, not straight enough, edgy enough, harsh enough. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. But yeah. And she sends me back saying, oh, well, I don't like the way you edited them. So I'm at the point where I'm like, I was kind of annoyed. If she would have said that to me in person, I'd be like, fine. I will put them all in a folder. You can edit them to your heart's content. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'll do that this afternoon or maybe tomorrow. Let's just go through, pick the good ones out, the ones that, aren't blurry, aren't, focused on her nose instead of her eyes, the ones that are, don't have a random person in the background or a bird swooping in from the sky. I think I'm just going to put them in the folder and be like, here, you can edit them however you'd like to edit them, and just kind of leave it at that. Because don't ask somebody to do you a favor and then criticize them on how they did it. Does that make sense? I mean, that's just common courtesy. And I don't know if it's, because I hear, they've told me stories about when they were younger and they lived on like a hippie compound and they've lived in, multi-family, where like 4 or 5 families all share a house or whatever. So I know she's used to that communal type, everybody pitches in, which I have no problem with. That's how communities should work. Everybody should pitch in. And I always try to pitch in my community. It depends on the community, but I'll pitch in big or small, depending on the community. But then she gets into that kind of mode where she's like, yeah, well, this isn't good enough. I know it was free. I know you did it on your own time. I know, it's going to take you hours upon hours to get everything done and set up and everything. But here's, but I don't like it. It's like, okay. Again, So the $100 they gave me, I'm going to consider that for the for the photography itself, not for the editing. And if she has a problem with it, she can, you know, suck it up. Like, well, here you go. You can edit them however you want. You know, don't take my word for it as the photographer. Don't take my word for it as the artist. Do whatever you want. Like, because I was editing it for yearbook type stuff, to where it would look good on the page. So, I mean, I whitened teeth. I went through and whitened teeth, and I got rid of acne. I didn't smooth the skin because I don't like that look. I think it looks fake. But I did get rid of some, like, you know, some acne, you know, especially severe acne. Oops. Yeah. So, I mean, the girl doesn't have a lot of severe acne, don't get me wrong. She actually has very little acne for a girl her age. But she did, you know, she was wearing an off-the-shoulder shirt for part of the shoot, and she had some shoulder and back acne. So, whoops. I gotta go straight. And then we're gonna turn north. Or I guess west, east. Holy crap. East. And I think what we'll do, because we haven't done this in a few days, is we'll go up a few miles or a few roads, and then we'll cut over on like 6th maybe, definitely before 8th, and we'll do 8th and we'll go up the Santa Fe Art District again, and then we'll catch the trail again at Spear and go from there. But yeah, so I think what I'm going to do is just give her the JPEGs and say she can do whatever she wants with them. And I will go through and pick which ones that I like and edit them the way that I want and share them on social media. Or I have a Flickr account where I share my photography because I hate Facebook. And therefore I don't use Facebook or Instagram. Even though I still have my accounts, I haven't logged into Facebook in, I think this November will be like 6 years since I've logged into Facebook. Maybe 5 years, but it's been a while. I do have the Facebook app on my laptop, my Windows machine, because, you know, I open it up, I upload photos or whatever real quick. It's not really following me around like Zuckerberg's apps do, like Facebook and other apps that he owns, where they follow you everywhere you go. So. Or listen to your calls and things like that. So I'm hoping there's some features that you can't even use on the Facebook or on the Windows app because they just didn't add it. It's so bare bones. You can basically upload pictures and scroll pictures, like pictures. That's about it. Anything else you want to do, you want to change your profile picture, you got to go to the app, or can't even go through the web interface. They want you to download that app because they use that app to track you, to use the microphone to listen to your calls, to, you know, use your contacts to see who you're contacting the most often so they can build a better profile about you. And I dislike that. Like, I'm not against you feeding me ads if necessary. Why is it? I don't know if I'm going uphill maybe a little bit because it just feels like the bike is struggling. Now, I wasn't pedaling very hard, but just felt like it was struggling a little bit. Could also be the pavement. As you can see, everything is horizontal to my direction, so it's a little bit more resistance, but I didn't think it'd be that much. Anywho, yeah, just, you know, it's one of the, you know, the old saying, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. You know, just take the gift, accept it. Now, I don't want to screw the girl over either. I want her to have good photos. That's why I went through and edited them, cleaned them up, got rid of errant hairs and dust and, you know, zits, whitened some teeth, you know, made her eyes shine, got in there and boosted her eye color, things like that. Made sure I didn't oversaturate her red shirt, because when you do saturation on any editing app, it boosts the red a lot. So that was one of my concerns, was making the red look too bright or cartoon bright. That's why I was hoping that dude would stop. But yeah. So, yeah, it's just that one of those things. So it's like, yeah, here we go. This is all I promised you, was I would take photos and give them to you. Now, I originally told her that I would go through the photos, pick, like my top 20 that I like personally, that, they're in, technically correct. The ones that are in good focus, that don't have, like there was a couple that were great photos, except there was a tree sticking up out of her head in the background. You want to kind of avoid things like that. And unfortunately, my editing skills are not on par with removing trees. I tried with my editing program. I tried using their little AI support thing. I tried manually doing it, and I just could not get it to look good or even acceptable. It looked like one of those things, Americans would make fun of North Korea for doing. But I was like, yeah, sure, here you go. Yeah. Anywho, enough on that. As you can tell, it's annoying me because I'm talking about it. So there is a little bit of a breeze going, a southerly breeze. Or is it a northerly breeze? The direction the breeze is coming from is the north. Does that make it a northerly breeze or a southerly breeze? Because it's going to the south. Regardless, there's definitely a little bit of a breeze here, which I'm hoping once I'm in the buildings, it's not going to matter so much. Like when I'm in between the buildings in a few minutes. So we shall see. Actually, you know what? Let's try something different. I've been wanting to try this, and there's no reason not to do it today. I've been through 1.5 tick marks of battery. I still got 3. I'll definitely make it back. But we're gonna cross here. The train station is a couple hundred yards to my left. This is usually where I come and park when I need to take the train downtown, because it's good. I mean, it's safe. I've never had a problem. Etc. But I think we rode over there once when I was out on like a Sunday morning a couple weeks ago. But we're gonna go that way, and we're gonna go north. Kind of follow the train line a little bit and see what happens. Okay, little white guy says it's okay to go. Oopsie. Oopsie. There we go. So yeah, there's something else I wanted to talk about too, and I can't remember what it was. Because, I've mentioned it before. I'm a veteran. I get a lot of my health care from the VA, which is perfectly fine. I told Senator Bennett a couple weeks ago that when I met him at a Meet the People event, that I get my health care from the VA, and everybody should have that level of health care. Absolutely. Basic health care should be a right, not a privilege. Anybody in the world, anybody in this country should be able to go to a hospital or a doctor and get basic health care. Now, I know Obamacare tried to straddle that line with insurance companies, making them pay for... So this area right here used to be expanded parking for the train station behind us. But the expanded parking goes almost to the next station. Like, I think it stops like a block shy of it. So like you park at this point, and it's almost, equal distance for you to get to either station. But I've never done this, and I wanted to. Like, if I ever parked at the light rail station and then decided to ride a bike downtown, how long would it take and what route would I take? That kind of thing. But Obamacare tried to, with mandating that insurance companies cover, basic, preventative, and tests, which is great. It's, as I explained to a kid a couple months ago now, it's called cost mitigation. You spend $1,000 on a test, so you don't have to spend $1 million later treating an illness that was not caught. It's basic cost mitigation. Every business. Yeah, see, I've never been over here on a bicycle, and I think I was only over here on a car once. But here's that other station over here to my left. But yeah, I think I came through here once when I was lost. Before, I think this building to the left was here. And I was just trying to find my way around, and I believe I actually ended up having to turn around and go back the way I came. But yeah. But I have parked over, or I have ridden the light rail here, and then walked over to where I'm going right now. Oh, there's actually a decent sized little dog park right here. I mean, it's maybe half an acre. But for being in the middle of the city that values its geographical restrictions, nice. Can't complain, because a lot of times they're like, little pieces that are, 20 feet by 20 feet or, 40 feet by 30 feet, that kind of thing. So we're going to go straight here. Oops. Yeah, we'll go. Because we've never done this. I've never done this. I can't tell you if I've ever been on this road and this part of this road before. I'm willing to bet that I have, but I can't tell you if I have. So it does look like there's a dedicated bike lane, so we'll get down there. But I think we're in the or just outside of the Baker Street area, or the Baker neighborhood, which is where I looked for a place in the past. I actually dated a girl for a little bit who lived in like one of these houses right here, this gray building up ahead to the right, or maybe to the left. I can't remember. It was a long time ago, but I believe she lived in one of these, which was fine. Yeah, she came over to my house a few times. I only went over to hers once because she had a kid, which isn't a problem for me. The problem for me is when you have like 5 kids by 5 different dudes. That's the problem for me. It's like, yeah, you don't make good decisions. Like, at my age, I don't have any kids. At your age, even if there was an oops, even if you were engaged once or married once or whatever, you have 5 kids by 5 different dudes. Same thing from the other aspect. Women who date guys who have 5 kids with 5 different girls. Like, I understand completely. I don't want to be a part of that either. Not that I date dudes or anything, but I understand, like, if a woman's like, yeah, I went out with this guy, he was great, but he said all the right things, but, turns out he's got 5 kids by 5 different people. And it's like, yeah. So Ellsworth here, this is Ellsworth, is actually 000 block. Not Center Street, not First, but Ellsworth. It's just one of those little quirky Denver things. And I officially am not 100% sure where I am. So, yeah. A nice little place there, though, if you could rent that. I didn't see any signs that said, like, rental, or, like, here's First Street. First Street is not 000 Street. What's up, teeny weeny puppy? What's up? Oh, for rent. That place is for rent. Because, again, I have to find a place to rent. And while I'm not, again, I don't know if I want to be downtown, per se, at my age. I do like the idea of being somewhere where you can walk everywhere or bicycle everywhere and just getting your vehicle when you need to go more than like 5 miles away. I wonder if this is one of those up-and-coming neighborhoods, because I'm seeing a lot of what I'll call gentrification going on. But I don't mind old buildings. Heck, if I moved into an old building, I might start a YouTube channel for haunted apartments. Follow me on my haunted journey and just kind of, make fun of haunted houses and stuff. So, we're not even up to 6 yet. I was like, yeah, I missed the art district, but we're not even that far north yet. But yeah, And I don't want to move to a neighborhood like this where you have to fight for parking spaces on the side of the street. It's just not something I'm into. But yeah, I might come over here, like this building right here. Looks like an apartment complex. This one right here on the right. Yeah, Cornerstone Apartments. I don't know if it would be, like, you know, I wouldn't have any problem living in a place like that. As long as, you know, because there's a motorcycle right there. I do have a motorcycle. And I don't have a problem parking my truck on the street, but I don't want to park my bike on the street if I don't have to. But yeah. So I'm just checking it out because I don't know if you can tell. And I'm not going to stop and flip the bike around to show you. Oh, okay, I know where I'm at. But I'm not, well, we're on 5th. Okay. Any traffic? Nope. Actually, I'm going to go this way. Sorry. I don't feel bad about it. You're in a BMW. Why don't I feel bad about it? Because she's in a BMW? Because BMW people, by and large, are, they're the kind of people that are, you know, have just enough income to justify buying a BMW. They can't afford a Mercedes. So they like to pretend that they're special because they have a BMW. You'll see it all the time. Start paying attention. BMW drivers, you know, they don't pay attention to road rules. They don't use their blinkers. You know, you can see she didn't even come to a full stop. She did more of a rolling stop or a California stop. Oh, that place looks cool. I think it's one single house though. Maybe. We'll go north here. Yeah. Oh, Western Maine. Okay. Sorry, the sign over there. So I think I need to go a couple more blocks west to get to the art district. But these houses are on top of each other like that. You know, you can reach out the side window and reach your neighbor's house. That's how close they are, if you haven't noticed. And you know, if you're going to live that close together, you might as well be living in an apartment or a townhouse. Because what's the point of that, you know, 1 yard wide stretch of, you know, patch of grass between your two homes, other than to say, you know, I live in a single family home instead of a multi-family home. So, and I am going to stop up here because, yeah, this is the beginning of the art district up here. Oopsie, oopsie, oopsie. That dude was sitting out there. He was listening to me say oopsie and he was smiling at me. But yeah. So this is the southernmost boundary of the art district. So we're going to go up here after I put lip balm on because my lips are dry. It's like I'm going that way. I think she was waiting for me to go. So I was trying to indicate to her that I'm going north, not east at this point, not west at this point. This woman right here in the silver little SUV thing. Oh, heavy bike, heavy bike, heavy bike. Okay, there we go. Ooh, that was my bad shoulder. That hurt. Like just lifting up the bike to spin it around felt like I was ripping my shoulder out of the socket. Whew, yeah, that hurt. Holy crap. Oh, I think that person's doing the van life. Master Rooter here is not. And we're gonna go. So, and I believe I can fly. I believe this is like that little bike zone. I'm not 100% sure, but we're gonna treat it like one until I learn better. But you can see all like the cool graffiti and stuff, Tattoo Expo, graffiti. This is all art district because these are all, well, the building to my exact left right now is a library. This is a tattoo parlor. I got a tattoo here once last year. But the rest of these are art related. You know, like the, you know, there's some restaurants here, and there's some, you know, these are all galleries right here. So, and Friday, this Friday, so in 2 days, this will be packed. Ooh, somebody's a Wiccan. This whole area will be packed. There'll be no parking. There'll barely be any standing room. It'll be people out here enjoying the art scene, having fun, you know, drinking, things like that. Vintage rugs. Woo-hoo. This building to my left, the Art of European Home Designs, used to be the Colorado Democratic Party headquarters. But this area, I think I mentioned before, started getting so popular that the prices on these buildings, on these art galleries, started to skyrocket, and the Democrats had to move out. I don't know where they moved to, but they moved out because they just couldn't afford the rent anymore, which sucks because they would have had, you know, 777's the address, which somebody told me that numbers and triple like that are angelic numbers or something, like, you know, my angels are watching me, or my angels are looking out for me numbers. But so they could have played on that. There's the art walk that happens all the time down here. They could have, you know, had a booth up, invited people in to come talk about, you know, what's on their mind, blah blah blah. But nope. There's a, if I haven't passed it yet, there's a VFW post right around here too. Hope I haven't passed it yet. You know, the cars are going around me. Go around this truck. Oh, maybe shit. Maybe I did pass the VFW post. Dang it. Yeah, another tattoo shop right here. The one that's right here to my right, they actually have a, it's so funny, they do a deal on, or they have in the past, I don't know if they still are, but it used to be come in on the art walk, you know, $50 and we'll tattoo any of these 20 designs on you right now. Which is a great way to do some like flash tattooing, you know, make a couple $100 or $1,000 in a night or something. It's an absolutely fantastic, you know, but I want tattoos that actually mean something to me, not just, oh, here's a bumblebee, let me get a bumblebee. Or, oh, here's a flower, let me get a flower. Oh, Colorado Ballet. I'll go back up here on the sidewalk because I'm tired of almost getting hit. Nobody's coming yet, so I'll go. Oh, shoot. Should have downshifted. You can see all the colors on the building to my right. Yeah, it's actually, like I said, it's a really cool area. Used to be a very artsy, very bohemian area, but as rents went up and people wanted to be closer to the art district so they could tell people, you know, hey, I live in the art district. You know, the bohemian moved out and the Volkswagen Tiguan's and the BMWs and stuff moved in. Plus, I drive a truck. I need to be able to park a truck. And sometimes city streets can't handle that. See that purple building that used to be a barbecue house? I ate there once. It was not as good as the price would lead you to believe. Like, I have no problem going out. I have no problem spending money when I go out. But make it worth my while. Like, there was a thing I saw it recently, but it came up again it came up during during COVID. And it comes up now and again for different reasons, but it's basically, oops. Oh, that's what I was afraid of. Oops. Yep, I knew I wasn't gonna make that. My balance was off and a car was coming, and yeah, a little pressure from the car passing me gave me just enough push to scrape my pedal. I mean, the pedal's fine, it's just scraped. Car's there. Yeah. Actually, if I keep following this road up, which I might. I don't know if this dude's coming. This dude is coming this way. Crap, why is everybody coming the way that I'm trying to go? If you can't tell, this is a hardy bike. I mean, it squeaks, makes noises, but it can take a beating. How's it going? But yeah, I'm looking over my shoulder here, trying to see if anybody has their blinker on, like they're coming this way. And that's part of the problem, is most of the people in Colorado don't use their blinkers, which is a huge pet peeve of mine. So you can't trust, if they're not in the turn lane, if they plan on turning or not. Or if somebody is planning on turning, you can't trust that they're going to go straight, or because they don't have their blinker on, because most of the people around here don't use their blinkers. And when I'm in my Tahoe, because I drive a Tahoe, I don't care. Hit my Tahoe. You're not going to damage me, and I'm going to get the payout because you didn't use your blinker. On the other hand, I'm on a bicycle. Bicycle versus car, bicycle always loses. But yeah, there's the, I'm just going to show you here real quick. Straight ahead, you can see those brick buildings. That is over here. That is Auraria campus. That is where Metropolitan State University, University of Colorado Denver, and Community College of Denver all are. Now, we rode around it one day, so you guys have kind of been through it a little bit, but I figured we'd go back over there right now because school should be in session, and there should be kids or something out there. We're gonna go at least halfway because nobody's coming. And we're gonna stop here because somebody is coming. And now we're gonna go because nobody's coming. Well, somebody is coming now, but that was safe enough. Like when I went to school here, this building off to the left, the 4 or 5 stories, was not there. I think it was a rundown strip mall and a Burger King. But I rode the train up to this point, 3 times a week for 4 or 5 years. Well, I went to school because I had a full-time job. I couldn't go to school every day, all day. So I was taking 3 classes a semester instead of 4. So yeah. And then one semester I just had so many projects going on at work I couldn't even justify it, so I skipped that semester. I don't even know if I'm allowed to be on a bicycle here, to be honest with you. I don't see anything that says no bicycles, but I don't see anything that says bicycles are okay. Alright, it's 11:50. I've been out for about an hour. But I do need to get back because I need to eat lunch. Yeah, I don't see any other bikes. I don't know. Like when I went to school here, bikes were okay here, but I don't see anything that says no bikes. But I also don't see anybody on bikes. So, but there are bike racks. So I'm assuming, again, I didn't see anything that said get off your bike and walk it. But there's a bike rack right there. There was a bike rack at the last corner. So, there's the library. Did not spend a lot of time there. Not that I didn't need the library, but it was on campus. It was closed. I took mostly evening classes. It was closed by the time I got out of classes. It was not a 24-hour facility. Yeah, we'll keep going. Worst case scenario, we get stopped by campus police or something. Telling me I can't ride my bike here, and then I say, oops, well, I didn't see any signs or anything, and they say, oh, well, it's campus policy. I'm like, well, I'm not a student here, how would I know that? And then they ask for my ID, and I say, well, too bad, so sad, I don't have it on me because I'm not driving. But here's the Tivoli Center. I pointed it out last time we came around this way and mentioned that it's one of the oldest buildings in Colorado or in the Denver area. It was a brewery for a while, and it served a bunch of functions, but right now it's the student union and student center and things like that. Oops. So, yeah, see the bike racks are everywhere, so I know they perfectly okay with bikes. I just don't know if they're okay with, people on bikes, especially on that particular sidewalk. These buildings to my left are all new since I graduated. So I've went within one of them once during COVID right after COVID when everything was still online and I was starting my master's program. I came down here and the buildings were all empty. They were unlocked, but they were empty. It was ghost towny. And I was like, so there's no point coming down here and using the facilities, is there? They're like, nope, not really. If you have Wi-Fi anywhere else, you have the same access as you would have if you had Wi-Fi here. It's like, okay. Oh, I wonder if this is that bridge that I saw. I went under it and I was like, ooh, that looks like a pedestrian path. I wonder if this is it. If it is, then it's new. Like a new dedicated pedestrian path since I graduated. And keep in mind, I graduated in like 2005 or 6 or something. So 20 years ago. I was about to mess. If the window had been down on the car next to me, I would have messed with her a little bit. But it's not. Oh, that happened this morning at the gym. That was funny. Oh. There you go. See, people in BMWs are just the crappiest drivers ever. Like the little signal there says, bikes do not go. And she's sitting there waiting for me to go. Like, go. Like, ugh. Sorry. BMW drivers, man. Couple motorcycles. Hopefully by next year I'll be back on a bike. So my bike's in storage right now. I haven't been able to ride it all summer. So I'm a little perturbed at that. But we're gonna jump down wherever I can and jump on the trail and head back. I have enough juice, that should be easy. Hopefully. I had to go through 2 tick marks of battery power, but I still have 2 tick marks left. So there should be a down around here somewhere. I don't know why all these people are here. Let's go this way. I guess maybe that guy was allowed to do that. I don't know what you're doing, so I'm gonna go. I mean, I get it. I've been in that position before where you don't know what the next step is. But I also don't complain when people pass me or bypass me or whatever because, I don't know what I'm doing. So I think across the street here, not this way, but this way. Yeah. I think there's a downspout right there. I wish they'd color code them or otherwise mark them so we could tell, because apparently they're not at every intersection. But yeah, there's a downspout right there. We'll just jump on that. Downspout. We just got to make sure nobody's coming, because people, bicycles and scooters and stuff do come through here. Don't want to come down that too fast and hit anybody. Yeah, I was at the gym this morning and I was on the, it's called an arc trainer. I always refer to it as the elliptical because it does basically the same thing. But I always do it for 20 minutes when I get to the gym to kind of warm up, get my blood flowing, get my heart rate up, that kind of thing. And I was on that and this girl walks by and her shirt said, like on first glance, when I first glanced over at her, I thought for certain her shirt said chloroform. And I started laughing. I was like, there's got to be a joke there. So I started looking a little bit more to see if there's some subtext there or something under it that said the only way to enjoy the evening, or, chloroform to keep your boyfriend quiet or to keep your husband out of your way or something like that. I was looking for some kind of jokey thing. But then, you know, after a second or two, when my mind unscrambled itself, I realized it didn't say chloroform, it said California. But the way the C was like in her armpit and the way her chest, let's say worked the letters. I don't know a nicer way of saying that. And the A on the end of California ended up under her other armpit. You know, at first glance, it just looked like chloroform, which was hilarious. So I get off the ARC trainer, and she happens to be getting off the treadmill at the same time, and I was like, oh, you want to hear a funny story? Because I was going to tell her. I was like, yeah, I actually, when I first saw your shirt, I misread it. You know, ha ha ha, funny. And I was like, oh, can I tell you something funny? And she's like, huh? And I was like, can I tell you something funny? And she pulls out her earbud. She goes, what? And I was like, do you want to hear a funny story? And she's like, okay. I was like, do you speak English? And she's like, no. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, then you're really not going to get it. So that's it. So yeah, down there the wind wasn't that bad. I had toyed with not going down this way because there's a woman over here with a dog, and I didn't want to get in her way or upset the dog in any way, shape, or form, but we're just going to do it anyway. Oopsie. I almost bought a little scooter thing like that. Like, I can't say I almost bought it because I didn't really consider it too long. I looked at them, weighed the pros and cons, because it's basically a motorized scooter, you know, an electric scooter, but it has a seat post on it, so you can sit down if you want to. Oops, on your left. Oops. Excuse me, sorry.
That's okay.
So yeah, I mean the seat's removable, so you don't have to have it on there all the time. But again, I wanted something I could pedal, so I'm on a bicycle. Because worst case scenario, if I get somewhere and I get stuck and, you know, run out of battery for whatever reason, I can at the very least still pedal home. It may take longer, it may hurt more, but I can at least do it. You see all these people out here on their lunch breaks, enjoying the nature, sitting in the shade. That's Colorado. Yeah, these brakes suck. But I don't know enough. Oops. That was a tighter turn than I was planning for. But I don't know enough about bicycle brake systems. Because I did look online to see about pneumatic brakes instead of these lever brakes or cantilever brakes or whatever it's called. Because everybody online that were writing reviews were like, oh yeah, the brakes suck, but just put some pneumatic brakes on there and it's flawless. And it's not expensive. But I don't know if it's like all universal size. Do I need a certain size? Do I, you know, is it just a plug and replace part? You know, you take the old one on and you swap the new one on and you don't have to replace anything else. Like, I don't know. And that bothers me, so. But it hasn't been important enough for me to research. Because it hasn't been like a super big issue yet. But yeah. Hey, puppy. Oops. On your left. But yeah. You can see, I mean, it's noon. It is exactly 12:00 right now. On, I think today's the 3rd. Yeah, 3rd of September. Because I won't be out on the bike tomorrow. I have an appointment at 7:45 tomorrow morning. And then another one in the same area at 3 o'clock. So I'm not planning on coming back and doing anything and then heading back over. I'll just stay on that side of town and, you know, maybe edit some more photos or something. Oof. Yeah, I can really feel the wind. It's definitely a southerly wind. I think it's Did I go through that? Is it? Dang, I don't remember. Is it a northerly wind if it's coming from the north, or a northerly wind if it's blowing to the north? That's what I'm trying to remember. Anywho, the wind is coming from the north and heading south because I am heading north right now and I'm going straight into the wind and I can feel it. But it shouldn't be a problem. You can probably see what it's doing to the branches of these trees, so you can see it's a pretty stiff wind. But at least my legs are getting a workout. Whew. Yeah, my fingers are tingling. Bring that up with the doctor. Because I have nerve damage in my back from some military stuff. And I'm trying to look around at like my surroundings and stuff, trying to be aware of the people, and plus also seeing stuff that I don't get to see or don't always get to see because, again, exploration. There's a train, but I'm also looking down a lot because I can't tell you how many like screws and nails and pieces of glass and stuff that I've had to like go around or try to avoid in one shape or form. Whew. Little breezy. Little breezy. Not bad though. Alright, I mean, I honestly cannot think of anything else to talk about. So I may, once I get past this stretch here that has all the homeless people, I may actually turn the camera off because there's no point in recording if I don't have anything to say. Oh, I did look into, I contacted the company about these earbuds. They gave me instructions on how to reset them. Nothing changed. So I'm really only working with one earbud, but I still have to wear both or else the noise cancellation won't work for some reason. I think they have to be in like proximity to each other. So, but I did, because I did buy the Amazon Asurion warranty. It's supposed to last like 2 years. But I did look that up when I was at the gym this morning in between sets to see what the process was about. Getting them repaired or replaced. They'll probably just replace them because I don't think they repair like technology like this. Like they might repair a TV, but I don't think they're going to repair like a head, an earbud. So I need to follow up with that too. I might get around to that this afternoon. Like I said, I'm going to have like 4 or 5 hours in between appointments tomorrow, so I might do some of this stuff then, but oops. Oh yeah, when there's that little overlook of the river up here, I'll pull over and put the phone away or stop recording, and looks like we're just about there. So yeah, we'll pull over here. Thank you guys for coming along. Sorry you had to listen to me, but I appreciate it. We will not be doing this tomorrow, maybe Friday. I might ride down to that art walk or the art show. I might drive down and walk over from the light rail station. I don't know. I do have a lock for this bike, but I don't trust then nobody's going to try and steal parts off of it, if that makes sense. So we'll see. But I do want to go. I missed it in August. And since I do live down here now for the short term, I would like to go while I'm here. So it's not that big of a journey from when I lived, like, 25 miles south of here. If not, the Rock and Gem show starts this weekend too. I'm probably going to go over there a couple of days at least, because there's so much that you just can't get it all in one day. So yeah, this next week is going to be pretty big. I have a pass to go to the Butterfly Pavilion. It's a place about 5 or 6 miles north of where I'm staying right now. And it's just a place where you can go in and the butterflies roam freely. I want to take a camera and do some photography there and see if I can get some nice pictures. But I've never been there because it's always been so far away. I didn't want to drive up there for, 2 hours. So might do that, or I'm definitely doing that next week. And in the meantime, I'm looking for a place to live that's within my budget. So yeah, thanks for coming along. We will definitely do another ride. I'm just not entirely sure if it'll be Friday or maybe Saturday. We'll see. And we'll catch up with you then. Have a great day.